Hello and welcome to this podcast about a case that has been unsolved by all this time. So let's give start for this new podcast. D.B. Cooper, the thief who after 52 years of investigation has not been unmasked, steal 300,000 and disappear by a parachute. This opportunity is Santiago Acevedo Flechas talking about unsolved cases. Before starting, 52 years had passed since the Flight 305 of Northwest Orient Airlines was hijacked by a man that not only asked and got his reward, but also escaped with all the money and was never seen again, or probably yes, but his identity was never proven with all the necessary evidence, and the FBI take charge of this case. But after all these years, the case has not been solved until today. The robbery. Everything started in the 24th of December in the year 1971. This day was a Thanksgiving Eve, very important day for the United States. That day, a man dressed with formal clothes with a tie and a tie clip and big sunglasses registered to board an airplane with the name of Dan Cooper. The name D.B. Cooper was after added by the news and podcast as this one. He got on the plane with complete peace of mind and sat down for enjoy the small travel. Then the actions started. D.B. Cooper, or Dan Cooper as you want to say, gave a note to the flight attendant or assistant. She thought was a note of another man who gave her his cell phone number or phone number, or have a relation or something like that, but she was wrong. And D.B. Cooper, watching this fall, said her in very low volume, "Miss, you better read that note. I have a bomb." She thought he was telling lies, so she read the note, and the note said, because we don't know the textual words, that in Cooper's bag was a bomb, and that he wanted $200,000 in bills of 20 and 4 civil parachutes, and no military parachutes. And why 4 civil parachutes? Because probably he was going to take rehens or people from the plane, and he didn't want that they gave him false or smashed parachutes. And he said that without tricks, or he will do his job. Scared, the flight auxiliary wanted to check that D.B. Cooper wasn't lying. What do you think? Was D.B. Cooper lying? The bomb and Cooper's orders. Well, Cooper wasn't lying. He opened his bag and showed the auxiliary a big battery surrounded with 8 red cartridges that were not table bombs for her. But after, in the investigation, was shown that Cooper's bomb wasn't a bomb, was really the battery of a car surrounded with plastic, supposedly a cartridge. Let's continue. But most important, he made her a sign that she must tell this to the pilot of the plane, that was named William A. Scott, the pilot. And after hearing what Florence Schaffner, the auxiliary, told, he immediately transmitted everything to the airport. After Donald Knightrop, the president of the airline, acceded to pay the amount of money, and he organized all the money, forgave it to the hijacker. And the parachutes were able to get thanks a local skydiving school, that he wanted that the plane landed on Seattle's airport, and it does, but after 2 hours while in land they were preparing all Cooper's requirements. When the plane finally landed, Cooper asked that the blinds must be lowered. But why? Because he was afraid, thinking that outside there were snipers. All his requirements were accomplished. He received the money and the 4 parachutes, and then he said that all passengers must be liberated and he will continue his trip. And the passengers get out of the plane, but he added to his requirements a new flight, but with direction to New Mexico. The escape. D.B. Cooper, a thief that until now is known by most of United States. He was a non-violent hijacker that gave all of his requirements, and now he is going to New Mexico? No, obviously that he wouldn't want to be caught and deported into the United States. After getting all his requirements, he'd take the money, a parachute, and tell all the crew members to get into the front cabin. And everyone does. But finally, nearly the 8:13 p.m., he jumped into the sky, and probably jumped in his parachute or probably not. But yes or no, his money and his body had not been found in the zone until today. The investigation. Even if D.B. Cooper could jump victoriously from that plane, he still to be a mystery. A mystery that since the FBI started to investigate the case, enough proofs had not been found for say that someone is guilty for the unsolved case. After an unsuccessful search in the zone, they searched for possible suspects, but none of them was pointed to be D.B. Cooper. An interesting thing is that past some years, a boy near the river of that zone find bills of $20 with the same code that were the D.B. Coopers. This is another opened kind of letter that no one have discovered. Let's continue. The nearest suspect, or one of the nearest suspects for being possibly Cooper, was Walter Reca, that by the testimony of two persons, including one of his nearly friends or brother, was merely pointed as the principal suspect, but by the testimonies, the location given as the place where he landed was so far to the search area, and supposedly the FBI discarded this suspect because of the facial similarities. So, the principal hypothesis of the FBI's investigation was that D.B. Cooper didn't survive to the fall, not only because the climate was not appropriate, because it was raining and was night, also that he didn't have the right equipment. His eyes weren't covered with special glasses, and he don't have enough preparation, or probably yes. But something is important is that the zone where he probably landed is full of pies with sharp points. But if he is dead, why his body haven't been found until today? In conclusion, but even if the case haven't been unsolved yet, this case had trapped the people that heard of it, since it was opened until even if the case was closed by the FBI. A case that was unsolved. Everyone wants to know the unsolved, to have the mind of found the answer for the big question, who was D.B. Cooper? See you in the next episode of Unsolved Mysteries in this podcast of the world. Bye.